So welcome back to the shop, everybody. I just got myself a much needed tool, something I've been eyeballing for over a year, a 20-ton shop press. These just went on sale, so I jumped on it. But we have got a lot of additions that we're gonna do to this that y'all might be interested in. So I picked up the typical Harbor Freight 20-ton press, just got this on sale for $199 because I'm a member there. That's a killer deal. So if you're not familiar with shop presses, you know, there's normally a jack right here, but we're not gonna install the one that come with it. And you can move these plates around and press out bearings, bushings, all kinds of stuff. I don't know what's taking me so long to get one of these. And while I was in Harbor Freight, this was $70 off, if you remember. One of the biggest discounts I've ever seen on something in this price range. So I picked up a 20-ton air over hydraulic jack here. So this is gonna allow me to use that air chuck to quickly pump up and release and make bends and all kinds of other stuff. So the reason I wanted to go over a hydraulic is not because I'm just gonna press out the occasional bearing or two. It's because I picked up this right here, a 20-inch brake, very heavy-duty brake right here from Swag Offroad. This is what I'm ultimately wanting the press for. Now I can bend up to 5/8 thick steel. So when I'm making really thick brackets and all kinds of other stuff, this is gonna be the ticket. Now I've got a really nice metal brake right here, but this is for sheet metal. And a lot of this side income that's been coming in, I've been investing in tools because I've actually had to turn down a few lucrative jobs because of not having certain tools in the shop. And it's got me thinking, we need to continue to do that. But ultimately, you can see how tight it's getting in here. There's only but so many more tools I can get before, well, we're gonna have to do a shop edition. We'll cover that way down the road. All right, so instead of putting the factory bottle jack in here, let me show you. This should be nice and straightforward. Just get this air over hydraulic jack out. I may have to drill the base out because it looks like it does not have holes for these two mounts right here. And then if you want to skip ahead, if you're interested in this, this is what I'm mainly making this episode for, is this Swag Offroad brake. And I bought the one, this is called the welder's kit. Or the builder's kit, I think. We're gonna have to weld and put this together myself. But I think it saved like $150 if I'm willing to do that. All right, so let's get this brake out. Like I said, I got their heavy duty version. I didn't get a finger brake because, well, I've got a finger brake over here. I just wanted a solid, heavy duty one that's made specifically for this press so I can bend really thick metal whenever I need to. And there's definitely been times I've needed to. This is the first thing I've ever got from Swag Offroad. Bought and paid for all this, by the way. But I've heard nothing but good things about them. I mean, that's a heavy duty piece of steel right there. And I've seen some other people use some of their stuff, some people that I trust, so I'm kind of excited. But that's not a good sign if they give you a return envelope. They expect me to send this thing back. Maybe that's just their packaging material. Now, like I said, I gotta weld this up. I specifically got the weld kit to save the money. They got a lot of cool products. You should check their website out. I'm gonna wind up getting in trouble on their website because there's 7 more things I see that I wanna buy, but I better pay this off first, do some jobs. All right, there's another return envelope. So yeah, they must just be using that for packaging materials. Now, I seriously considered building my own. I have seen some people on YouTube do that. I've got the tools where I could have, but I don't think I could have made it nowhere near as precise as this. Like, I can't put an edge on steel like that, or as robust. So I decided to go ahead and go with this, especially being that I've got some jobs next week, some personal jobs and some paid jobs that can go ahead and start paying me back for this. So I kind of needed something ready to go other than this quick weld up right here. Okay, got a few parts here. Ultimately, we're going to be welding these collars right here on the side of that blade, I guess we'll call it. Let me get the instructions out, get all this figured out. Yeah, this thing is very heavy duty. Look at the thickness of this steel, which it better be. It's going to have 40,000 pounds of force on it. All right, so you've seen that I just used my press for the first time to press these rods into the cutouts right here on this bottom plate. Now what the instructions saying I gotta do is come in and straighten up these pins. Looks pretty good. All right, we gotta go this way quite a bit. And that's so whenever we weld these sleeves onto the actual blade, is what I'm gonna call it, that presses down, we want these to be as straight up and down as possible so there's no binding. So I'm just going to go through and straighten these up. It needs to be bent down quite a bit. And just take my time doing this. Now that I have these pins pressed through, put a couple of heavy tack welds on the back side. I want to tack weld everything up, make sure it all works perfectly, and then we'll plug weld and grind smooth everything. We still have to weld on tabs. Like I said, we have to weld on these sleeves to slide up and down, so there's no point in welding everything out fully because we could wind up with it not fitting correctly. A few heavy tacks to keep everything from shifting will be just fine. Looks like next we need to weld in some little tabs for the front. All right, next we're going to take these sleeves and center it up here on this piece. That may be a little easier said than done. Just going to take my time using some squares, double checking everything. right, so as you see, I just welded this collar up dead center of this crimping plate, blade, again, I don't know what the heck to call it. And that'll just keep it attached to the shaft because it's got a set screw here, the shaft that's already on the press over there. Now, a nice touch, this comes with an adjustable up and down plate, or backstop's what this is. So if you want to do repeatable bends on a piece, you can adjust this forward or back, slide your piece of metal in till it bumps it, and then if you have a bunch of repeat pieces, you can just set the depth where you want this to be. That's also a pretty nice touch. Definitely want to support the underneath side of this with these big thick steel plates that come with the press, because the instructions say if you do not, you will absolutely damage this. All right, everything looks like it works just fine. We got plenty of stroke on the new 20-ton cylinder. I need to rig me up a quick release handle. All right, this is ready to go. So let's go ahead and look at some specs here real quick. You've got a bending area of looks like about 19 to 19.5 inches. That's what I really liked about this one. It's a lot wider than the cheaper ones that you can find at, say, Harbor Freight. They have a small one now that fits right in here, but I want to be able to do full length bends. That's important for me at times. Now, the other thing is how powerful this is. So I'm going on their website right now, and I'm going to read the bending thicknesses. So this full 19 inches, it claims it can bend 3/16 steel or thinner. That's pretty awesome. So 3/16 thick, full 19-inch bend, no issue. 15 inches, you can bend 1/4 inch steel. 13 inches wide, you can bend 5/16. That's crazy. 11 inches wide, you can bend 3/8. That is insane. I didn't think we could. If you'll do a 6-inch wide piece, you can bend 1/2 inch steel. 3-inch wide piece, it's rated up to 5/8 thick. I don't see how on earth that can bend 5/8 of being just 20 tons, and I'm curious if that's gonna potentially damage the edge, but that's what their website says. So yeah, that's wild that a cheap 20-ton press can get me bending steel that thick. All right, I bend a lot of 1/8 and 3/16. You know, let's just put a bend on the end of this. Obviously, that's not going to be nothing for this. Let's see how crisp it is. Let's just check out the bend itself. Now, what I'll have to learn is the overbending. You can probably overbend past 90. We'll get all that figured out. And I do have a digital clamp-on angle finder that we can put right here to help us go 45 on one piece equals 45 on the other. But let's release this and see. See, here's the situation to where I really need a different type of handle. But that worked. See, I actually overbent. And you can see the size of that radius. By the way, I could bend that back out, no problem. We're just learning. So you see the size of the radius? You can actually adjust that. So next up, they said you could put a piece of 2.5 inch by 1/4 angle. You could drop it in there. That'll get you a tighter radius. Then you could put a piece of 2-inch angle inside of that. That'll get you a tighter radius. You can keep dropping smaller and smaller size angle iron in here to close up your bend. So you don't have to stick with just the radius that this has right here. All right, so for example, see, we can put that angle finder on there. We'll bend to 45 degrees, but typically you'll overbend just slightly because steel tends to spring back, but we'll see what happens. I've got to learn this machine. That's just going to take time. .43. 45 on the dot, but I have a feeling we're going to have some spring back. Let's find out. So yeah, you can see spring back happened. That's why you always want to overbend. We may have to go to like 48, 50 degrees. That's something I'll just figure out with time. All right, let's test something wild. 1/2 inch thick flat bar. I would have never in my life thought that I would have the ability to bend something this thick. I don't have anything else in the shop that could even remotely come close to bending stuff like this. All right, this makes me nervous bending steel this thick, but it says it can do it, so let's find out. Oh boy, it's doing it. We're bending a little, but I doubt this is going to have much spring back as thick as it is. Well, interesting. It absolutely bent it, but split open. Y'all tell me what you think about that. With that said, we bent 1/2 inch. I've had this piece of steel laying around forever. I don't know where it come from, but we'll have to do some more testing in the future on that. All right, so yeah, this is extremely powerful. I think it's gonna work out well for me. I love how heavy duty this is. I love that I got 19 inches of bending here and the thicknesses that it's rated for. I just don't know how else I can get into something air operated that can bend that thick of metal for a few $100. Most other machines would be in the thousands. With that said, what I ultimately have this set up for, y'all know if you watch the channel, I do a lot of fire pits, cookers, fire rings, just things like that. And I'm wanting to get in with my CNC plasma table back here to cutting out special design legs. And I'm wanting to get into ultimately where I don't just have a single leg. We'll have bends, we'll have V's, we'll have specialty shapes. It'll just increase the value of the products that I make. That machine back there is rated for 1/8 inch steel and down. Well, I need to be able to bend mainly 3/16 and 1/4 inch, like 12 to 16 inches. All right, thanks for hanging out with me in the shop. This was a fun episode. Now this is just gonna be one more tool in the shop that you're gonna see help me create a lot of cool products coming up here in some future videos. Catch you on the next one.